What is good? We're back. And we have one more step in the NFL rookie scouting process in the books. And we are going to talk about some of the risers and the fallers, or the winners and the losers, however you want to frame it. We've got guys that have stamped their draft capital, and we have guys that we need to go check the tape on, right? We got some big winners. We're going to talk about the big 5 running backs, kind of where we have them ranked. I don't think a huge change, but maybe inside that top 5, maybe we've had some movement. We'll talk about a little bit about players who didn't participate and how we feel about that and how that affected, good or bad. And of course, we'll talk about the fallers. So right off the rip, let's get some winners in. Chev, who's a big winner right now for you through this process? Running back, wide receiver, whatever, and then we'll hone in on the running backs.
Well, I mean, this wouldn't be a Chev Dewar Sanders special here if I did not mention my love for one Quinshon Judkins. Now, let's not get to capping early now. Let's tell the truth here. Quinshon's been my RB3 throughout this whole deal. And my only question was the fact that, hey, let's talk about whether or not he's going to test well enough to be considered in that elite tier. I mean, obviously there's a tier break between, Genty and then another one with whoever you have at RB2. And then, I've got Quinshon at my RB3. So going in what he did today for me, that makes him a big winner to me. What about you, bud?
Yeah, I mean, I think Judkins certainly answered a lot of questions, answered the bell, as they would say. Crushed the broad, was number 1 in that. Had a good 40, coming in at 4.48, 10-yard split, 1.51. So a lot of good stuff. Also, nice vertical, 38.5 was near the top of the class in that. So great performance from Quinshon Judkins. Travion also had a nice performance as well.
Don't try to sneak that Henderson nonsense.
I did,
this is a Quinshon party.
It sure was. And I wouldn't say Travion was a winner from this. I'd say neutral for Travion on this. But I think for me, you got to talk about DJ Giddens a little bit here, right? We knew that the lateral agility and that kind of quickness was all there, but we weren't sure where, or at least I wasn't, where the top end speed would be. And, again, just because some of these guys come in here and test really well and run fast in a straight line doesn't mean that translates to the actual game speed. We have GPS on some of these guys, and we know what the actual game speed is. Giddens doesn't necessarily look like a 4.43 guy on tape consistently.
Not at all. Not at all.
But this is great for his draft capital, and that, in the end of the day, I think is what helps put a piece of the puzzle and matters to a lot of people here, as well as the evaluators for the NFL teams here. So I think Giddens, because he's got a really good skill set, I think McShay called him the glitch, and I think that's a really good nickname for him, because he is like, that left to right movement is so filthy from Giddens. So that was good to see. Obviously, we can't get in here and talk about winners without talking about Tuten. I don't know how much that increases the draft capital, right? But it's at least putting his name in everybody's mouth. You have guys who come in here and put up good numbers, right? Like, Montrell Johnson Jr., 4.41 from Florida. Like, he doesn't really move the needle for me all that much, right? But somebody like Tuten, with the way he's built, and that he was basically the number 1 athlete across the board in a lot of these drills that they did, or at least in the top 3, really speaks volume. And then they showed the side-by-side of him and Barkley and Gibbs running and the 40, and he's 20 pounds heavier than Gibbs, or so it should seem. And he's, kind of running past him in this shadow effort there. So just a really, really strong performance by Tuten out there.
Listen, I randomly follow Virginia Tech because one of their head coach, Fuente, was a former Memphis coach that turned it around when Memphis was a dog shit program. So I got to watch them a couple times live, and then one of my buddies recommended that. He said it just kind of before the Senior Bowl. He said, Tuten's one of the guys that I think could run a really fast 40. So that piqued my interest a little bit, and he exceeded my wild. I was just going to be anything below 4.4. I would have been thrilled about, just because we don't necessarily get to see that from the running backs on a regular basis. And so him to come out and go 4.32 and just absolutely obliterate all of the testing metrics just was not on my bingo card. I mean, you knew he was athletic. He had a 60-yard touchdown, I believe, against Miami on one of those Thursday night games. So you knew he was athletic, and he comes out and he exceeds your expectations in the wildest fashion. This is still a really deep running back class, and I don't know what that means for his draft capital. It can't hurt it.
Right.
It can't hurt it, right?
Yeah.
So, let me ask you this. Does this make him a day 2 guy?
No.
In your opinion?
No, I think it's good for his day 3 stock, I think.
Okay.
It could put him it puts him in the mix for teams in that day 3 area where maybe they had a little bit of a tie here and they refer to, hey, this, the profile of the speed, height, weight, athleticism, very good, and we liked a bunch of stuff on tape. We like this other guy on tape too, but these measurables were a little better. So I think he made himself a little bit of cash today. Nothing crazy, but definitely I think got himself a nice bump up over some other guys who also might have had some questions around them. So let me
ask you this then. So was he more of a round 6-7 guy, and now you view him as more of a round 4-5 guy, or is he still like 5-6 ish to you? So
this would be one where it's like I got to go back and get the tape because I haven't.
Okay.
There's a deep class. I didn't get super deep on the Tuten tape here coming into the combine. You're trying to get all the big dogs out of the way and be comfortable with them, and then you check out some other guys. And I watched a few games, but I haven't been deep in it. So to say how I felt one way or the other, whether it was 6 or 7 or 4 and 5, I can't sit here and say confidently, but it would seem 4 to 5 is the range currently. I would think, but I don't know. There's a lot of running backs, man,
right.
and they mentioned it on the broadcast.
So
We've
many.
mentioned on here like how much chicken is going to get played in the draft with the running back position, right? But this is good for Tuten because the chicken that's being played, he gets moved to the top of the list, I think.
Absolutely. You can't ignore confirming priors on film. So like I said, I haven't done an extensive deep dive. I watched the majority of one game live, and then I watched 2 of his games where the all 22 was available, and it's it pops off a little bit, but it's not like you're like, oh yeah, this guy. You're like, yeah, he's really fast.
Yeah.
I don't know if I see a 3-down guy. I don't know if I see a committee leader.
Yeah.
It just might be a guy that's a 175 touch guy at best. I mean, he can't catch the ball. So that's obviously a positive. But as far as like blocking goes, as far as his ability to create something out of nothing, he's nowhere near some of the guys that I have near the top of the draft. But I think he made himself a lot of money today.
Yeah. Yeah. As Skattebo, we were coming in wondering what these times are going to be. Didn't run. Had a nice vertical though, 39.5 there. So solid vertical from him, and I believe the broad was decent too. Yeah, 10.3, so not a terrible broad either from him. So those things bode well, but those also are indicators of the things we kind of know about Skattebo, right? It's the short, quick burst kind of movement is good. It's just the long speed, which I wouldn't have ran either if I was Skattebo. He knows what it is. So you know what I mean? So
hey, bro. Hold on, man. Hey, look, man. There's just no way that you could have the type of explosion that he has with 39.5-inch vertical and a 10.3 broad jump, and you can't go out and give me like less than a 4.6.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's all I need to see.
Yeah.
All I would have needed to see
Sure.
was what I got from Devin Neal. It's just give me less than a 4.6. Bro.
Yes.
That's all I want.
Sure.
Less than a 4.6.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, Devin Neal, another one, probably staying pretty neutral for most people, and good for the Neal guys like us. I see a lot of people saying the conductor of the Neal train, and it really bothers me because I didn't hear none of y'all talking about Neal last year. So if there's a conductor, he resides over here. But people are stealing our intro. People are stealing our fluorescent glowing signs and our animations on coming in. So, hey, it's fine being trendsetters.
That's crazy.
Fine being trendsetters.
That's crazy.
So, hey.
Imitation is the highest form of flattery.
That's right.
as a part of this whole deal now, I mean, I don't need to know who these people are. It would not,
hey,
it's not gonna be good.
It is what it is. We like it. All right. Let's table the wide receivers, because I think if we were talking about risers, there's a few in there and definitely some draft capital stampers. But let's jump into these top 5 running backs right now in this class. And you alluded to one, Judkins, and that's probably the one who may have cemented things the most currently, because I think had the most questions hanging, right? And to me, these 5 outside of the first one, they come down to play style preferences on how you like your back to play and the system that they're going to go into, right? Quinshon did wonders, 4.48. That was everything, there. I thought for sure he was going to go 4.5. So coming under that is a nice little boost to your confidence, right?
I'll run you my top 5 pre-combine, and Omarion Hampton, after Ashton Genty,
of course.
We don't have anything to say about Ashton Genty. Sure. He's crystallized as the one on just about everybody who's not being clickbaity right now.
Sure. Of course.
Lists, right? So Genty, obviously, all right, moving on. Omarion Hampton was 2. Quinshon was 3. Devin Neal was 4.
Woo.
And then I was in this nebulous, weird space where I was between Travion and Kaleb. And earlier in the week, I had moved Kaleb ahead, and now I feel like shit because I just been talking all this crazy shit about how he's going to run. He's 22 miles an hour on the GPS. He's going to run 4.4. He's got all the physical tools, and he still has all the physical tools. He just ran a 4.58. So as much as I'm telling myself not to freak out, like, don't freak out about him running a 4.58. Okay.
Yeah. Seems like the value
don't freak out about it.
Right. No,
you can probably get him in the middle, like the early to mid second, as opposed to taking him at like 109, 110.
Yeah. So, you didn't have Henderson in your top 5 coming in.
It was, we'll put T-5 between him and
tiers.
And Travion.
So if I was doing it, it was Genty 1, and then tier 2 was Kaleb, Travion, and Hampton, and then I had Judkins sitting kind of right on the outside of that tier. Now I can firmly put him right mixed in with that tier. The next 4 guys to me are all rock solid choices. It's style, like Hampton and Judkins are very similar in how they play. Travion's kind of this electric lightning bolt, and then Kaleb's play style is different than Hampton and Judkins. And for me, I like the play style of Johnson a little more, meaning that, and you saw it in kind of the drills, right?
His 40 time.
Right.
What about his 40 time?
And look, the 40 time can also, like, both times on the start for Kaleb, it was a weird start every time.
Yes.
Like, and it's just like, if you're not a track guy, you don't know how to start in that situation, right? And the start's so important. He kind of stumbled around on both starts, but then when, to the point of play style, and look, these are drills, they're running them a few times, and if you catch a bad luck here or there, you're riding this whole argument on it. But again, confirmation bias. I didn't understand anybody coming in telling me how good Omarion Hampton looked in the drills. He looked exactly what the only thing that I don't like about him is when there's any east to west, it's not really his game. He's not an east to west guy. He's a north-south, get downhill. Good luck tackling him. Put him in that position time and time again, and he's going to succeed. He's a great player. But when you saw him go left and right, it looked clumsy. He stumbled around here and there. And then, whereas Johnson, when he accepted the football, just very deliberate, smooth operator on kind of how he picks and pokes where he's going. And those were just, again, confirmation bias on those things. So for me, nothing really changes in my top 5 outside. Judkins is solely inside, the second tier. And it's so tier 1, bigger tier 2, and a great tier 2. So you got to be pretty excited about that. Anything else in those top 5 of note for you? Like, Judkins has solidified 3. So that's a big note. And you're slightly concerned of Kaleb. Is that kind of how I took that?
No, I'm not really. I was trolling. I don't give a fuck about Kaleb's 40 time. I was more so concerned. Like, I was just disappointed because I really thought that I really thought that he was going to run faster. That play speed shows up in his breakaway run rate,
right?
And how many breakaway runs of 25 and 50 yards that he has. So yeah, go please. I'm taking the discount and I'm running with it. I feel better about, I just feel better about some of the guys. We touched on Devin Neal, no Diddy. We touched on Devin Neal. If you watched Devin Neal at all over the course of the last 2 years, you knew that this was probably
correct,
the most likely of outcomes.
Yeah.
He's not a long speed guy. He's not a
metrics. He's not, this testing is not going to be what he does well.
No, not at all. And so I can't honestly move him based on his 40 time. Like, I want to see what he did as far as like the agility metrics go. And I can't move off of him because I knew that this was something that was probably more likely than not. Now, on the flip side, their rival school, Kansas State, DJ Giddens, I did not know that he was going to come out and test that well.
Yeah.
So now I got to go back to the tape. I mean, obviously, he single-handedly got Shiloh's invite to the combine, taken away with what he did to him in that game this year.
Yeah.
But like you see a lot of it's just, there's so many good running backs, bro. Like there's too many to just be like, oh, okay, well, I'm moving this guy up or I'm moving this guy down. Like, you really got to get into the tape to have informed opinions about these guys.
Yeah.
And not just, oh, well, he ran a good 40 or he ran a bad 40, so he's good or bad.
Yeah. So consensus top 5 running backs, I think, stamp good draft capital, which we pretty much knew was coming. And real quick on the Kaleb Johnson thing, you mentioned it for a second. 21.7 and 22 miles per hour were the 2 GPS numbers that are tracked on Kaleb Johnson. So once we know those GPS numbers when he's playing on the field, I really don't care about the 40. Like, if we could just get that on everybody, the 40 would kind of be obsolete at that point, because we would know what they're doing on a football field. So that puts my mind at ease with Kaleb. I really didn't care what he ran there. The not good side of things, Ollie Gordon, maybe not so good.
No. Not at all.
Didn't really perform well in any manner as far as drills, the speed testing, which, you probably weren't going to be his forte anyway.
Well, you had a glimmer of hope, right? That he was going to come in and run like sub 4.5 or low 4.5. Mm-hmm. He goes to the Senior Bowl at 233. He weighs in Indy at 226. So you think, oh, he's trimmed down. He's in more track shape, more sprint shape. To go out here and kill these drills, and he just kind of looks regular as hell.
Yeah.
So, like, it's hard. It's getting harder and harder to justify my ranking of Ollie Gordon based on what he's put on tape and the way he's testing now.
Well, that was going to be my follow-up question. Has somebody like Giddens come in and supplanted Ollie Gordon for you, and when you're pressing the button on a draft right now? That's
tough, because Ollie's firmly in the second round of our ADP, right?
Right now.
And Giddens is an afterthought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Giddens is an afterthought in like the 4th.
I think we're going to see some tides turn here. I think we're going to see some
seismic shift.
Yeah. Ollie Gordon coming in at 204 in the FFD ADP, and then Giddens is probably mid-3rd, early 4th.
How the turntables.
Yeah. So, that's probably too low for him anyway, but there's a lot of good players in the 3rd still. So, I think he's going to be a big jumper in these rookie mocks that we're about to see. Dylan Sampson didn't run a 40, but looked good in all the passing drills. Said he was still nursing a hamstring, and all the draw and field drills, very smooth, unconcerned, no movement really for me up or down with Sampson. Kind of have him floating in that 6-7 spot for the running back.
Where you at on Sampson?
I like him. I think on our last ones, I had him and Neal kind of in that next tier, sitting right outside the top 5, and then Skattebo outside of those guys, and then Ollie Gordon and RJ Harvey, and then out in that Ollie Gordon RJ Harvey tier, I had kind of the guys like Brashard Smith and Giddens, Jordan James, kind of all floating in that area right now. And now we've gotten a little bit more clarification to where those guys might end up being draft capital wise. And Giddens has certainly taken the lead there for me. RJ Harvey was another guy who had a good day today. He's just a little old, pretty solid all around. Sir. I thought I thought Trevor Etienne had an okay day today too, kind of forgotten right now. And that's how good this class is well, maybe he's not Travis, probably still a really good player.
Go Tigers.
And then two other guys that kind of caught my running back wise, Jaquiz Hunter, who's, I remember watching him and Tank together. So I'm slightly familiar with his game. And then Donovan Edwards, a forgotten guy. And I kind of put, Allen and Marks and Brashad Smith in this great running back catching ability situation. And I think, Donovan Edwards was like one of the OGs that we thought was going to be this great pass catching back in this class. And, kind of went out there and had a pretty good day. So again, a guy who's right now an undrafted free agent in pretty much any draft that you do could end up being an awesome role player for somebody here coming up.
Yeah, he made himself quite a bit of money today. I said War Damn Eagle, my wife's family is like 3 generations deep in Auburn alumnus, whatever. And I played for Coach Freeze way back in the high school day when he was coaching high school ball. So I was really happy to see Jarquez go out and do what he did. I've said that he's a guy that kind of there's nothing that you're gonna see that makes you just be like, oh my gosh. Yeah. But he does everything well enough. And I think there's definitely value to that. He's really consistent. So him to go out and test well, that was good for me to see.
Yeah. My guy Jordan James didn't test well today. I wasn't sure how that was going to go, so maybe a little bit of a faller there. I thought Ollie Gordon was kind of a little bit of a faller. I thought Taj Brooks came out and tested a little better, especially speed-wise, than I think a lot of people thought. So that's a go back to the tape for me. Go watch.
No. All right. So to be fair, that though, he came in about 15 pounds lighter than his playing weight.
Yeah.
So he was 215 at the combine. He played at like 230. He's listed at Texas Tech.
Yeah, he looks huge.
On Texas Tech's website is at 230.
Yeah. A lot of guys came in here shaving weight. Martinez was down.
Smart.
Yeah, you got to. And I thought Martinez had a decent day as well. I liked what I saw from Martinez. Just a different style. Again, so many stylistic changes and roles to be played with all these different backs. And it's going to be a lot of fun seeing how all this shakes out and where they land. And there's going to be a lot of value found a year or two from now when the NFL gets shifted all around and these running backs who maybe didn't come in right away and get a spot are still good players and end up having a big role kind of moving forward. So always something to keep your kind of eye on of, how quickly people will fall out of love with these guys. LaQuinn Allen, I thought had a fine day, looked good. Marcus Yarns from Delaware. Shout out to the Blue Hens.
The Blue Hens, baby.
Coming out there and didn't really have much known about him for me and was like, good story there. So, all right. Anything else on the running backs before we switch to the wide receivers here as far as good, bad, and ugly?
Last thing. I gotta shout out my boy Rocket Sanders. Your South Carolina state mate over there.
Yeah.
Rocket Sanders. I mean, this is another guy that trimmed a shit ton of weight for the combine. He comes in, he's listed at 242 on South Carolina's website, and he's listed at 230 on ESPN. This motherfucker comes in today at 217 and runs 4.47.
Yeah.
So
excellent.
I'm really looking for. I really want him in the Titans uniform come September. Like me and a buddy of mine have been talking about it quite a bit. I was like, man, I just hope he can run like decent enough to where he gets some capital, but not too good to where people are gonna get hip to him. So yeah, Rocket Sanders. That's a guy that I was impressed by.
There's going to be a lot of guys who are third RB3s right now on their respected teams who are going to be looking for a new job at Enterprise here coming up real soon after this draft hits, I think.
And these pulpits ain't gonna sell themselves, boys. Come on, it's time.
That's right. All right, let's hop over to the wide receiver side, and we'll touch on the tight ends right at the end. But I know nobody really cares. So, I like to touch on a good tight end. All right, obviously Marcus Golden coming out here running faster than Isaiah Bond. Nobody had that on their bingo card at all, but that's a draft capital stamped first round, right?
Yeah, there's no way that he's getting out. One, Daniel Jeremiah kind of let the fucking cat out of the bag and was like, yeah, Matthew Golden, I think he could get into the first round, and then he comes out and blows all of our expectations away and runs a fucking 4.29. I think that this might put him into the top 20.
Yeah.
I mean, the film work was nasty as it was, and then he comes out and he runs 4.29. He's got the fastest time. He's got the fastest time amongst all the receivers this year.
Yeah.
Or was it the fastest time, 40 time overall period?
Yeah. What a like 3 months for this guy, right? Just coming out of nowhere, absolutely steps up, crushes it. College football playoffs, makes a huge name for himself coming into that, and then has some nice run during that time, and then comes into the combine and just fastest time 4.29. Like, dude, I mean, we covered a mock and Matt Miller took him at 12 to the Cowboys, and I was like, no way. It might be way. It might be way. That's a Cowboys pick through and through from in Texas, and he's fast and hitting at the right time. So good for him. That young man made himself some money. I'd be interested to see kind of where he ends up going in drafts. Was going 2.8. I mean, he's going to be way up there into those numbers up. Yeah, you got those are rookie numbers. Got to get those numbers up. He's going to be ahead of Harold Fanning, I think, at this point. He's going to be ahead of Devin Neal. He's going to be ahead of Ollie Gordon. He's probably going to be ahead of Trey Harris, which is great for me. We'll see where Travis Hunter lands. Travis Hunter could easily be out of mocks relatively soon. I don't know. Or, a great value in the second round. We know.
Shout out to my guy that told me I was an idiot for saying that he was going to play receiver.
Shout out to him. All right, let's go a couple more draft capital stamped here for the wide receivers, and then we'll get to some risers and potentially some fallers and check the tape on those guys. I think Luther Burden with a good 40 today stamped it first rounder.
Easy. Well, okay. So let's just for a second here. So we've got Tet, we got Luther, we got
Golden.
Matthew, yes,
Egbuka.
And we got Egbuka.
Yeah, 4.
So where in that range is Luther 4th?
For me or for the NFL draft?
In like what order? Yeah, what order do you think that they're going in the NFL draft? Obviously, we're assuming Tet's going 1 and Buka's probably 2, right?
Not for me personally, but I could see it. I could see him.
Well, not your rankings. I'm just saying, like. I think
Tet, and then honestly, Golden could be the wide receiver 2 off the board with what he just put down, right? And maybe he's the wide receiver 1 off the board now, because I do think there are some people who have questions with Tet, and really all these guys have a little bit of a question mark next to their name, outside of maybe Egbuka, and I don't mean to disparage it, but is it the lowest floor on Egbuka and that's fine, right? It's still, and it's not like it's because he's like he's obviously awesome. We're talking about him as a first round wide receiver, but is that how do you feel about that?
So we're stuck kind of in this weird limbo with Egbuka, because you think that it's a really, really high floor, but where is the ceiling? And now with Matthew Golden saying, hey, man, I just was awesome in every single big moment for when I was called upon. And now you see the type of athleticism that I have. Like, how can you can't really ignore that. I mean, he could have like a Henry Ruggs-esque rise where he's the first receiver off the board in a draft with Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb and all that stuff. Like, this is the type of thing I could see happening. And if that happens, like, give me all the Luther at the back end of the first round, and like, let's depress that ADP a little bit so I can get him into a better situation.
Yeah.
So I think Egbuka's going to get pushed down until he goes to his pro day. And at Ohio State's pro day, they've got some notoriously quick thumbs on the on the stopwatch. So I mean, if he turns in a 4.3 at his pro day, all of this kind of goes moot. And Buka's probably the second guy off the board.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really safe pick. I don't think you're screwing it up by taking him. And I think there's the least amount of risk involved in drafting him. Right. All right. Let's go to a couple more guys that I think might have stamped it here. I think Higgens from Iowa State. I think he just stamped day 2.
Sir.
I think he just stamped day 2 capital. And I think Jaylin Royal stamped day 2 capital today. So those would be the other two that I think locked in day 2 capital.
Yeah, shout out to Austin for throwing that Jalen Royals Rashee Rice comp out there. I mean, you're gonna get that guy into a building and be like, wow, why did we not love this guy more? Why were we not higher on this guy as it's not sexy. It's not as exciting as it was with the crop of receivers last year, but there's some definite value to be here. Obviously, I mean, you got the NFL Network guys comping Jayden Higgens to Nico. And I mean, I said that offline. Or I think I said that in a conversation with another one of my co-hosts. Like I said that, and I was like, I don't know if he's if he's as explosive as Nico is, but I mean, he put it all together today, and I'm excited to see where he lands now.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was, for him to be that big and move that well, that was nice. And then, back to Royals real quick. Didn't do a bunch of the drills, but came in with a good 40 time, and that was really what we wanted to see, to just make sure that vertical threat was there, because I think he can win at all the different levels, and he's a menace with the ball in his hands. And then his 10-yard split was, I think, tied for number 1 in the class. So that's kind of also telling in how he moves and can operate. So 1.49 was, I believe, that was tied for number 1. I forget.
Yeah, Golden was 149. If Royals was 149, that's that's pretty sexy. I'm not gonna lie to you.
So some other ones that I like that aren't the crazy risers, or for at least for me, were Torrey Horton Jr. I thought he came out and did good, sir. And Elic Ayomanor just across the board had a very nice day, and he could have maybe stamped himself some day 2 capital possibly.
I hope so. I think that, the catching Canuck, I think that he's one of the guys that's kind of sliding under the radar a little bit. I mean, his claim to fame is what he did to Travis Hunter on that fateful Saturday night. But that's not all. I mean, you're talking about, he had future, pulpit salesmen just throwing him the ball at Stanford at quarterback, and he still puts up 1,000 yards his junior year, and then puts up 800 this past year in 2024. But it's just so impressive when you watch him play. It's so physical. There's a much higher ceiling than what his production alludes to. So that's a guy that I'm really excited. I was excited for him going into the Senior Bowl. I was a little bummed that he was dealing with an injury. But today he confirmed a lot of the things that I saw on tape with him. So I think he stamped himself. What are your thoughts as far as Kyle Williams goes?
So I got him on the check the tape column here for me, because I'm familiar with a little Kyle Williams, but I thought he had a nice day today, and I feel like a lot of mixed reports on him as far as the way people feel about him and the people view him. So I definitely have to check the tape on him. And then Dante Thornton Jr. was another check the tape guy, just from a size speed element there. And then Isaiah Neyor, or I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, because I'm not even going to lie, I haven't watched a second of his tape.
Listen, I'll subscribe Nebraska to your OnlyFans if you come in here and you tell me that you've got a full breakdown on Isaiah Neyor, or however you say his name.
Yeah, but absolutely slaughtered it as far as, right there, the RAS score saying essentially
can't pull over any farther.
Yeah, he's at the top of the food chain there.
Is it a perfect score? Is that good? High score. Is that good?
High score. Did I break it? So gotta check that out. He's been. I know he's been in a few different destinations, and then ended up with Nebraska. But so those are big check the tape guys. How about Kyle Williams for you? Did you have a good report on him already, or were you kind of eh?
I was because I've done a ton of homework on Cam Ward. And it shows up some, but it's a little inconsistent. And I wasn't sure about how much of it was Pac-12 DBs not being worth a damn, and how much of it was just his actual skill. So that's another one that I've got to go back into the lab and be like, all right, I need to see what it is that I'm missing, because the athletic profile is there. So obviously it's not just him having an elite quarterback to play with. there's more to it than that. And yeah, I'm in the same boat. I wanted to bring that up because that was a guy that we didn't really mention when we talked earlier today. So I was just kind of wanting to see kind of what the temperature was as far as where you were.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the same boat. Like, all right, I got to go back and see what's up with this dude because he did have a good day today.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of good days here, I think, two big risers that got themselves kind of maybe a little bit of a Tuten treatment from the wide receiver side is Jaylin Noel or Noel. I heard them pronounce it multiple different ways when I watched the tape, and today at the combine they pronounced it two different ways almost the whole time.
Whatever you want.
You're right. And then Ty Felton from Maryland. I had Luigi on. Shout out to Luigi. Make sure you go check his channel out. But he was saying how Ty Felton's going to go out there and have a good combine as well. Ty Felton was also saying he was going to go out there and have a good combine, but a lot of dudes go out there and say they're going to have a good combine, and he just went out there and slaughtered that thing. 4.37, 1.51, 10-yard split, a 39.5-inch vertical, and then a 10-10 broad. The tape's pretty fun on him. He's fast. He can get downfield. You kind of knew that, but also good yak with Felton. So I thought there was, fun tape to watch at Maryland. And, I think he just kind of put himself in that third, fourth round potential category here for somebody with Felton and Noel, a great slot, right? I mean, just came out here and torched it every which way that you could possibly torch this thing. Came in here with a sub 4.40, so 4.37. Came in with a 1.51 10-yard split, a 41.5-inch vertical.
Bro, if y'all don't sit here, if y'all don't sit down and tell me this is a Lad McConkey reskin, I won't hear anything else of it, man. Like this is, I've been a big Jaylin Noel, whatever he, Mr. Jalen, whatever he wants to be called. That's exactly what I'm gonna call him.
Yeah.
All right. I really, really love his film first and foremost. Then on top of that, he comes out and he puts everything together that you want to see. Like this is a more athletic version of Christian Kirk to me. I was on the stream earlier and I was like, this makes too much sense. Like for a guy like this, he's probably going to be a third. He's probably snuck his way into the third with the testing and then the way he performed at the Senior Bowl. I mean, he was the guy that dunked on Azariah Thomas and, when he was out there locking everybody up. So I would love to see him either a 1-to-1 replacement for Tank Dell or in Jacksonville replacing Christian Kirk, because I think he's going to step in immediately and be a contributor at the NFL level.
Yeah, maybe a Cooper Kupp replacement.
Maybe, but I mean, he's a little guy. And they make their guys block.
He does. They do. Besh and Ayomanor would be more.
Yes.
The
or
speed,
Trey Harris.
Or poof. That's a different animal.
I'll take you to that. Get you bricked up in the cement aisle. You start thinking about Trey Harris in a Sean McVay offense with Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, but the ad cut on in the middle of me reading his stats here, but 41.5-inch vertical for Noel, 11.2 of the broad jump, and a sub 7 3-cone 6.82. Just shattered it in every which way you possibly could. So shout out to him, and the tape's good too. So I know those things match up, and he for sure made himself some money today. So that was awesome. Biggest faller in the wide receiver category, I think, we already had questions about Tez, and then he comes out and runs a 4.5. The tape's the tape, right? And the tape's good. That was really a huge bummer for him.
That sticks out. Yeah, that's what sticks out to me the most. I was looking at this. I was looking at my notes here, and I was like, Tez. Oh, Tez, man. I don't know what to do with you. You're 154 pounds. You run a 4.5.
Yeah. Right.
Like you've got to do the thing when you lack prototypical, like not even prototypical, like average size for you got to have that one thing that you cling to. And his might be that he's able to separate like Nightcrawler or some shit. But as far as like running, like straight long speed, it's just that's really disappointing. And he's probably moved far down the board at this point.
You can't have all bad qualities. You can't be ugly and mean. You have to be nice or funny.
Right. Right. I mean, what do you say he came in at? 154?
Yeah, 154.
154, 5'8", and then ran a 4.5. Is that what it was?
Right. Yeah. 4.55 and like a 4.51.
That'll leave you soft at the soft serve counter on a hot day, just flaccid. That's what.
Yeah, congrats. You're a Birmingham stallion, bud.
Yeah. The
water was cold.
Not good. Savion Williams is somebody kind of interesting, I guess. I don't know. I don't really have any hard feeling, but it feels like a polarizing prospect there. Some people are like, "Oh, I love the raw talent." Some people are like, "I'm good." So I'm
in the I'm good camp.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion either which way. Trey Harris didn't come out there and crush it. I didn't think he would at the combine. Everything he did was just fine, right?
That's not his game,
right?
I was arguing with a guy in a Discord server today, man. He was like, he was supposed to be a speed guy, and
who said that?
Told you that?
Yeah.
Who told you that?
Yeah.
Like, did you just not watch it at all?
Yeah. No, you didn't. You just listened to other people.
Yeah. Like this, what he did, again, we have expectations based on how much, you've watched them play. And I said, okay, anything less than a 4.6, I'm good. I am thrilled with anything less than a 4.6 for Trey Harris. Yeah. And he comes out and he runs 4.55 or 4.54.
Right.
Good. Perfect.
Yeah, that's fine.
Keep him in the second round.
Right. I love Trey Harris. I think the metrics and the, as far as when we look at the analytical numbers spot will shine very bright on Trey Harris. So not a whole lot of concern there. And the tape is absolutely awesome. So, Nick Nash, somebody who was really crushed the stat category, didn't come out here and have a great combine. And then, Ricky White's my guy. I really like Ricky White a lot, but ran a 4.61. That wasn't excellent. You don't want to really see that. While I don't get terribly discouraged on wide receiver 40 times a ton, that wasn't super thrilling. Although, I do think Ricky's pretty talented inside and out. So, but definitely didn't help himself out today. So,
I think with receivers, you get the benefit of you don't have to be as fast because the guy defending you is moving backwards and you know where you're going and they don't. Mm-hmm. So that guy needs to be really fast and you just have to be quicker than him to that spot.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, there's one name on here that we haven't brought up yet. And I'm curious as to your thoughts on this person. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. Isaiah Bond, where are you at with him?
I think he came out and because we expected it to be, and he was running his mouth a little bit, which, whatever. I think we expected
irrational confidence. Yeah. Like all of these dudes are irrationally confident.
Sure. I mean, but I think since he didn't come out here and absolutely just put up these gaudy numbers like Matthew Golden did, his teammate, people are probably a little disappointed, but I thought in general, the numbers were really good for what Bond came out there and did. And then in the drills, I thought he looked pretty good as well. Like I just think a little bit of a forgotten guy. There was some good stuff at Alabama, didn't quite fulfill everything that you wanted him to fulfill. But I still think there's some hope and prosperity to be had and maybe where you can get Bond, because I don't think he really changed his draft capital as far as fantasy people are concerned all that much today. And he's been going pretty late. So, I think I don't want to say like Jermaine Burton from last year, because I don't think he's got like the character concerns or anything like that. But like, I think he's a good swing that could hit in the later rounds for you, but I'm not expecting it to be awesome, but that's what later round picks typically are. But he wouldn't be my flag plant in those later rounds per se, but I wouldn't shy away from him.
So for me, it's interesting because the inconsistency on the actual football field was concerning for me. Then he comes out and he says, I'm going to run 4.2. I'm going to run 4.2, which I never saw that level of speed from him. And
what he ran was good. Strange, just because the expectation was
right. And so because I'm trying to adapt to, okay, well, this guy's going to go out and run the fastest 40 that I've ever seen. bringing that back to like he's gonna run a really fast 40 to like, okay, that was a decent 40 for somebody who's 180 pounds. Like I'm trying to level set mentally on where I am, because I was lower on him as a prospect, and now like I'm disappointed that he didn't do what he said he was going to do. But also it's good enough.
Yeah.
And then the drills, it's like, okay, all right, I can see. All right, the drills are where it's like, okay,
yeah, it was good, fluid.
Yeah, like we've had 2 pounds of shit. Now let's get a pound of sugar in, and the drills were the sugar today.
Yeah, I agree. So sort of like Dylan Sampson on the running back side. I thought he was good in them drills. And then, all right, let's end with the tight ends real quick. I think really the big winner is Terrence Ferguson from Oregon, 6'5", 247, but came out and ran a 4.63, which for tight ends is great. Had a good vertical at 39, a good broad at 10.2, and then a sub. Did he run the 3 cone? I'm not sure. But
I don't think he did.
I thought he came out there, and then the drills were real good. So I thought Ferguson was very solid today and was kind of one of those guys who some people talked about, but nobody was real terribly excited about it. Again, we had Luigi on and we talked about it. Like, this seems like he could be a Harbaugh kind of guy. Like, he could be in LA and just be a killer for the Chargers. He can kind of do, he's a little bit more traditional mold, can kind of do maybe the things that Harbaugh and Greg Roman might want him to do. That they're sadly missing that big component of the tight end that's been so huge for those guys throughout their career, Roman and Harbs, that is, and could just really add something to him. I thought Mason Taylor came out and, the gauntlet drill obviously went viral and he did well. And then Fanning, I think people are mad about the 40 a little bit, but the 3 cone was sub 7 and the 10-yard split was good. So, if you're gonna leave some meat on the Fanning bone for me to get him a little later in tight end premium, really at the end of the day, there's like Gunnar Helm's the big loser of the tight ends, but there's still 4 or 5 tight ends that I'm pretty excited about, and that's not even counting Oronde Gadsden, who I think is a pretty exciting tight end.
I was hoping you would let me mention Oronde Gadsden, but yeah, I think that Terrence Ferguson is one of you son of a bitch. No, I think that with Terrence Ferguson, my gripe is that he flashes all of this on, at different points throughout Oregon's season. And then he flashes like he should be stocking shelves at Publix. Like, yeah, just the sheer inconsistency of what he looks like as a player to me is absolutely maddening. And it makes me, I don't know, like, obviously you love this profile and he's probably made himself quite a bit of money because people are going to fall in love with what he could be. And then he has some reps at the Senior Bowl where you see that he does really, really good. I don't know if he's a space cadet or what, and he just checks out sometimes. Because it's like, bro, have you ever seen what football is before? Or like, what do we have going on here? Yeah. Like, did you inject the Toradol directly into your brainstem before the game today? Like, what are we doing? Yeah. So, yeah, I think he made himself a lot of money. I think we're going to get a discount on Harold Fanning, which I'm all here for, because that is a guy that is very, once you see him move in drills and stuff, you realize that this is a guy that's just a gamer. Yeah. Because it's never going to look the way that you want it to look for a traditional tight end. I mean, I think on the pod earlier this week, I comped him to Isaiah Likely, and Isaiah Likely came out and ran like a 4.88. Oh yeah. But you can't tell me. You can't so much faster when you than that. Yes. When you watch Isaiah Likely play football,
at Coastal Carolina, he had like a 90-yard touchdown.
Yes.
Likely.
So yes, Isaiah Likely. Like, if you aren't familiar with what Isaiah Likely is, don't go look at the box score. Just type in Isaiah Likely Coastal Carolina highlights on YouTube, and you will not be disappointed. No, it's so filthy. Promise you. So filthy. So, yeah, I think we're going to get a discount on Harold Fanning Jr. I'm all here for it. And Mason Taylor, what's the official FFD take on Mason Taylor? Because I have one, and I'm not sure that it's good enough.
I'm not terribly comfortable with saying I think he's fine. I'm not as enamored with him as I think the NFL is, which maybe I'm completely wrong here. But I think he's a good player. He doesn't get me excited though, and maybe I'm completely off base. And maybe
I don't think so.
maybe need to go back to the tape a little bit there on him. But
no, it's not like there was nothing there that makes you be like, yeah, that's the like a Rondé Gadsden. You can turn that shit on and immediately be like, oh,
yeah,
this is different.
Right.
Mason Taylor, it's like,
yeah, but tight end's also one of those positions that's like sometimes the and those little things are just are exciting. They're not exciting in us spectating, but for a football team, there's always those guys in fantasy who are going to be better for their NFL team than they are for fantasy, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think about Will Dissly a whole bunch when I see Mason Taylor, and I don't think that lends itself to a very high fantasy ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, am I tripping?
Not for me personally otherwise, but I mean, when he gets second round draft capital, I may have to revisit,
Yeah, if he gets second round draft capital, throw everything I said out the window.
Yeah.
I've been the biggest Mason Taylor fan since before, since he put a football uniform on. I've been DMing his dad, telling him what a great tight end he was.
Yeah.
If he gets second round draft capital, yeah, double NFL genes. Nephew of Dolphins great Zach Thomas, excuse me.
Yeah, Jason and Zach. All right, that's gonna wrap up today's show. Make sure you're subscribed everywhere. If you're listening on the Player Profiler feed, make sure you subscribe to the FFD feed because sometimes you get an extra episode and you get episodes out a little earlier. Get more stuff to your little fingertips faster for your pleasure. 5-star review if you're listening on as a pod. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. And then Chev, tell us where we can find more Chev90.
Well, I'm at Chev90 on X, at 2guys1pod FF on all social media platforms. I also host the Titans Uncovered on the Uncovered NFL YouTube channel. Shout out to Dynasty F Key. And I co-host the Dynasty Pulse, which airs normally on Fridays or Saturdays at some point. But yeah, check us out there. Tweet me, tell me I'm an idiot for how much I don't like Mason Taylor or, some of these other guys, but be nice about it. And don't tell me I'm an idiot for saying Travis Hunter he's going to play wide receiver.
Don't have to listen to these guys anymore.
Hey, bad comments help the algorithm, so have at it.
Yeah.
Get it in.
Yeah. Get it in. All right. Cut it out. We're gone.
FF out of here. Peace.